See Blake Lively's most recent IG story? She just really wants to piss me off today. Last week, I stood proudly alongside 19 organizations united in defending women's rights to speak up for their safety. Like so many others, I felt the pain of a retaliatory lawsuit, including the manufactured shame that tries to break us. While the suit against me was defeated, so many don't have the resources to fight back. I'm more resolved than ever to continue to stand for every woman's rights to have a voice in protecting themselves, including their safety, their integrity, their dignity, and their story. That's funny, Blake. What about Landon? You know Landon, the TikTok creator that tried to tell the story about when she saw you and Stoney Clover in New York City, but that got taken down real quick. Wonder why? With love and gratitude for the many who stood by me, many of you I know, many of you I don't, I will never stop appreciating or advocating for you. Last week, I posted about this and how it definitely seems like these organizations were paid to side with Blake Lively, FYI. And it just really pisses me off because she's already celebrating. She's claiming victory after not just stealing Justin Baldoni's movie, but also trying to ruin his life. But Justin still can file an amended lawsuit. But she's acting like it's done and over with. The gloating, and it's just, oh my god, I'm so annoyed and so mad. Can we cancel her? Like, why does she still have 43 million followers? Like, what? And sadly, guys, this is Hollywood, and like, I shouldn't be so shocked by what has happened. Blake and Ryan for years have been getting away with being the people they are, the bad people they are. Today just sucks. You know when someone gets really cocky before they actually win? I really hope that's like this type of thing. We're going to see them get real cocky. They've already deemed it a victory, her lawyers. And then I want them to come back with an amended lawsuit. I want Bryan Freedman to give us his strongest arguments and evidence ever and just crush them. Crush them.
Miss, I'm too traumatized to be seen in public because of the ongoing lawsuit between my family and Justin Baldoni was spotted out tonight after the judge ruled in her favor and threw Justin Baldoni's lawsuit out. Madam is at some Chanel Tribeca festival. I don't know what the hell it is, but she is here. Footage which is so kindly provided by E! News once again proves this chick does not change. She starts out in this number, wearing her jacket, goes to give it to her assistant, and then comes back, asks the photographers to hold on because she wants to give her jacket to the person, and then proceeds to say what she just said, it's my vintage jacket, it's my vintage. Like, she's so obnoxious. And this has nothing to do with the lawsuit. It's literally just an obnoxious girl. Like, she is an obnoxious girl, which is why I believe every single word in Landon's TikTok, which is no more. And I'm truly sick about the fact that this woman can go out in public knowing that this man and his 2 children and his wife are reeling in agony probably because you and your damn husband are insufferable and cannot seem to resist a press opportunity. So again, this is the look of a traumatized woman, y'all.
What was Justin's reaction to it? The same as my reaction to it, which is, it's not fair. It's not right. And the reality is that someone should have a chance to be able to be held accountable. And you should be able to hold media accountable for the truth and veracity or the lack of it of what they show. I think that he's a person who wants to be vindicated. And that's all that he cares about is that he knows who he is. He knows what he's done. He knows what he hasn't done. And he wants the truth to come out. And he wants to do that in the appropriate way. He's not walking around taking victory laps and victory tours and speaking out. He's taking care of his family and taking care of his loved ones. And he's waiting for his day in court where he can speak out and tell the truth.
A lot of people thought that maybe this whole thing was coming to a close. Clearly it is not. Bryan, I'm sure we'll be talking to you as this moves forward. Thank you for being with us.
It is so far from over. Let's just put it that way. So far.
To dismiss the biggest one being the defamation claim.
Well, we weren't pleased that the judge dismissed the defamation claim, but it didn't, overall, it's not what the case is about. I mean, let's remember where we got started here. We got started because Blake Lively filed a CRD complaint and then, walked over and filed a lawsuit which, accused some very good people of a smear campaign and accused, a terrific young man of sexual harassment, both of which were completely untrue. And that's where the case got started. It's where the case stands today. Those claims that she brought exist. That's where we want our win. From day one, where we wanted our win, in addition to getting damages, but where we wanted our win is to show there was no smear campaign and there's no sexual harassment. And she hasn't proved a thing. As a matter of fact, it's just the opposite. Look at the facts. Look at what's been shown. Look at the receipts. Look at the video.
What's next for you?
I mean, next for us is I'm really hoping that she doesn't drop her lawsuit.
Well, why would she?
Because she's on a false victory tour, and she's afraid of the truth. And the truth is, going to be shown through depositions, which is what's going to be next. I've noticed her deposition. It's set in June. We're going to see if she's going to appear at that deposition or not. And we're going to proceed forward with the case. And we're going to show that there was no sexual harassment. And we're going to show that there was no smear campaign.
Obviously, the defamation was dismissed with prejudice, so you can't refile that. But do you plan to refile any of the other, I think there are 3 other claims that you could refile, correct?
There's actually 4, and the judge was very specific about them. Intentional interference with contract against Blake and Ryan, intentional interference with prospective economic advantage, that exists still, and that's against Blake and Ryan. Negligent interference with prospective economic advantage, that's against Blake and Ryan, and breach of the implied duty of covenant of good faith and fair dealing. And those are, that's against Blake. And those claims still exist. The judge just wants us to replead them and gave us a roadmap on how to do that.
Well, will you do that?
Of course we'll do that. I mean, for sure. And, as part of doing that also, we're also going to fight her claims, which have existed since the beginning here. And there's been absolutely no indication of any kind that she's prevailing on her claims. As a matter of fact, just the opposite.
You mentioned in June her deposition. What's your strategy for that? What's the key question you want to get her under oath on?
State your name. I want to see if she shows up.
And once she does, what do you do after that?
I'm going to ask her questions under penalty of perjury, and she's going to have to provide evidence, and she's going to have to provide the truth of the stories. And we have all the videotape. We have all the footage. We have, the text messages, and we have emails, and we're going to see how consistent her testimony is with the actual facts of what transpired.
So it sounds like what you are explicitly saying, you don't want everything to go away. You don't want to just say we're done with this. You want to have Justin's name cleared in court, and it's important for you for all this stuff to go forward.
It's not just important for me to have Justin's name cleared in court. It's important for me to have Tag and Jen Abel's names cleared in court. It's important for me to show the truth and to give the clients the real, result that they're looking for, which essentially is what they were accused of, right? There was not sexual harassment here. She wasn't sexually harassed, and there's no smear campaign.
So I'm wondering what Justin's reaction was to the judge's decision.
Does not mean that the judge believes Blake Lively's side of the story and doesn't believe Justin Baldoni's. Also, it does not mean that she has won her lawsuit against him. That could still be dismissed by the judge. It does mean, though, that he can no longer pursue this $400 million that he claims he is owed by Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, their PR firm, and the $250 million he claims the New York Times owed him for maliciously spreading lies about him. It's not because the judge is saying, well, they weren't lies. It actually means even if they are all lies, and even if Baldoni is telling the truth, they still don't meet the standard of defamation that would require all those other people to pay him money. First, the judge said that any lies that Blake may have told were solely contained in her lawsuit. And in this country, you cannot be sued for defamation for what you allege in a lawsuit. This is meant generally to encourage victims to speak freely. Next, Baldoni claimed that Ryan Reynolds called him a predator and that really hurt his livelihood. But the judge says because the New York Times, Ryan Reynolds, etc. were all basing their statements on Blake Lively's lawsuit, it doesn't seem like they knew it was a lie that they were spreading. So note, this is regardless of whether or not it actually is a lie.
Okay. I'm feeling defeated. Not gonna lie, I'm feeling pretty defeated over the Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively story. Listen, this came out of nowhere today. It did. The judge's ruling to throw out most of Justin Baldoni's lawsuit came out of nowhere. Came out of left field. A pretty devastating finality. Here's what I think really just upsets me more than ever, more than anything I should say over this. Well, where do we start? Just as someone who has been following this case from the beginning, obviously, as you guys know, if you've been following me here and you have been, seeing how invested I am in this case. I was saying it on my YouTube show earlier that there's something about the Justin Blake story that feels it resonates, right? It resonates with anyone that feels this lack of justice or feels like David versus Goliath situation. I think what's upsetting the most is, in this case specifically, is the takeaway from the headlines of Justin Baldoni that you're seeing everywhere, like on TMZ, People, Deadline, all the magazines, right? Justin Baldoni loses and Blake Lively wins. And that's not what is happening. So Blake Lively's reaction to Justin Baldoni's blow from the judge today is so delulu, which is very on track for Blake Lively. It's delusional, okay? She is claiming victory. She is acting as if she's back on that Time magazine Titan stage, like, I am speaking for all women. I am doing this for the women. I am an advocate for women. She did not get granted anything about her sexual harassment claims. That's number one. The ruling today did not prove one thing regarding her original claims about sexual harassment. So hear me when I say, do not run around town getting excited. I told you so, Justin Baldoni. He actually did SH Blake Lively. He did not. It's not official. He has not been proven to be a predator in any way, okay? So I think it's upsetting because people read these little brief headlines and it says Justin Baldoni lost, Blake Lively won, and they're like, oh my gosh, Justin Baldoni is this predator. Now I want you guys to put yourself in the situation if you're Justin, because Justin was fighting back, as anyone is allowed to do. As someone that is, I'm big on justice and I'm watching the Karen Reed trial, and Karen Reed is also fighting back right now and defending herself, okay, against these life and death claims that she murdered someone. And if all of a sudden they just said, you're not allowed to fight back and you can't do that, that would suck. So he is now left with no choice, he cannot fight back that defamation claim. But that still means that she has to prove that sexual harassment. But here's where I think this goes. And this is where I think he's going to be screwed. And this is why I feel real freaking down right now. My prediction right now is that Justin Baldoni, my prediction right now is that Blake Lively drops the suit. She's not going to want to go to trial. She's not going to want to take this in front of a jury. She's absolutely not going to want to go through discovery, and she's definitely not going to want to prove by any means this sexual harassment that I don't believe actually occurred. And I think she knew that this entire time. She knew the legal ramifications of everything that she was doing. She knew this was going to happen. Her attorneys were giving her the heads up, which is why she's been so confidently moving through this entire thing without proof of sexual harassment, without witnesses, without text messages to show any proof, anything. She has not shown 1 ounce or iota of evidence this entire time. She's going to drop the suit. She's going to do some big-ass, obnoxious speech with too many words, as she always does, where she's going to say that she's an advocate for all women and now she doesn't need to fight back because she has done enough and she's spoken enough. And at the end of the day, that's all she cared about. She wanted to obliterate this man. She wanted to tear him apart. She wanted to ruin him. She tried to do it on December 21st. He fought back. And she won. She got what she wanted. And she and Ryan Reynolds are celebrating right now that even without proving any sort of sexual harassment, she still won. And she doesn't need to prove it, because this is all she wanted, was to ruin his name and ruin his reputation. And Justin Baldoni, unfortunately, I think, is going to have a very hard time ever coming back, because unless Blake Lively decides to go through the entire court process and then eventually lose, which, why would she now? Why would she? What does she have to gain? She's already won. She's not trying to fight back for money or anything. Yeah. I think Blake Lively succeeded in ruining Justin Baldoni's life without a shred of evidence. Horrible, horrible move, and I think she set back women decades.
We are full steam ahead. I'm back. Hello, my fam. It is Perez, the queen of all media, the original influencer, and your number one source for everything It Ends With Us saga. I was so depressed yesterday. My brain was not working. The math was not mathing, but everything has been sorted now. The judge ruled that Justin Baldoni can refile 4 of the 7 claims individually that he has against Blake Lively. The New York Times is out of this for good. And in a huge win for her, Fake Lee's publicist has also been dismissed with prejudice. However, that means that Blake Smollett and her husband are still parties to this lawsuit. Justin Baldoni's attorney said today that he is not dropping his claims against the superstar couple. They will be filing a second amended complaint by June 23rd, the judge's deadline. There will be 4 of the original 7 causes of action still at play, and Baldoni's attorney, Bryan Freedman, who is also my lawyer, said that he will personally be deposing Betty Buzzkill. The causes of action that are still actionable in the litigation are intentional interference with contract, intentional interference with prospective economic advantage, negligent interference with prospective economic advantage, and breach of the implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing. And, the judge still hasn't ruled on Baldoni's motion to dismiss. So it is possible that a lot of her claims might be tossed out as well. And all that happened yesterday in that explosive ruling proves nothing on her end. She has accused him of sexual harassment and retaliation, and that has not been decided on. The judge did not rule on that. The judge did rule recently, as I shared with you all, on the Baldoni Wayfarer's motion to compel her medical records. They argued that was relevant because of her claims of emotional distress. The judge denied that request because, in his own words, the motion to compel is denied based on plaintiff's representation that the relevant claims will be withdrawn. Team Villainous Virgo had told the judge that instead of sharing her medical records, including providers and any treatment plan, they were going to withdraw the infliction of emotional distress claims. That was an unusual move because in lawsuits, when you make those claims, you know that this will come up in discovery. The judge also told them to figure it out between themselves if her claims were going to be dismissed with or without prejudice. Meaning, if her claims of emotional distress were withdrawn without prejudice, she could refile them and bring them up again in the future. But the real zinger was when the judge said, for avoidance of doubt, if the claims are not dismissed, the court will preclude Lively from offering any evidence of emotional distress. With that wording, the judge seemed to imply her claims are done, even if they're not withdrawn. He said, for avoidance of doubt, if the claims are not dismissed, the court will preclude Lively from offering any evidence of emotional distress. So, in a letter filed today, lawyers for Betty Poop are asking for clarification. They say, Dear Judge Liman, on behalf of plaintiff Blake Lively, we write seeking clarification regarding the court's June 3rd, 2025 order denying the Wayfarer party's letter motion to compel. Ms. Lively writes to clarify that while she intends to withdraw her tort claims for emotional distress, she still pleads and intends to introduce evidence of garden variety emotional distress in connection with her other remaining claims. So he caused me emotional distress, but not too bad, just a little bad. And in a surprising revelation, this letter today tells the judge Miss Lively and the Wayfarer parties have agreed in principle to dismiss the 10th and 11th causes of action with prejudice. Those are the infliction of emotional distress causes of action with prejudice, meaning she won't be able to refile them. Ms. Lively, however, seeks clarification regarding the court's notation in the June 3rd order that Ms. Lively would be precluded from offering any evidence of emotional distress if the claims are not dismissed. Ms. Lively respectfully requests clarification from the court on that point before signing a stipulation to dismiss the 10th and 11th causes of action with prejudice. They argue that by dismissing these causes of action, Ms. Lively is agreeing to forego the presentation of evidence of treatment by healthcare providers or diagnoses for any psychiatric disorder to preserve the psychotherapist patient privilege. They claim this is a well-established right that a plaintiff may exercise in order to protect highly confidential and private physical and emotional health information, while still preserving the right to pursue those emotional distress damages that are recognized as inherent in claims for workplace sexual harassment and retaliation. But, they argue, in cases where the emotional distress damages are garden variety, the plaintiff may still present her own testimony and testimony of percipient witnesses who observed her emotional distress without providing medical corroboration. This includes testimony that the plaintiff suffered humiliation, anxiety, stress, loss of sleep, loss of appetite, etc. Then they cite case law. Therefore, accordingly, Ms. Lively seeks clarification from the court. And that wasn't the only thing that happened today. As I previously told you, Jed Wallace, part of the Baldoni crisis communications team, asked for a stay in discovery. The judge has denied that motion. Additionally, both parties are still bickering over discovery. What should be shared with each other? Responding or not responding to subpoenas. Today, Team Baldoni Wayfarers submitted a letter to the judge complaining about a subpoena request from Team Pinocchio. They were not able to come to an agreement amongst themselves. They tell the judge they've made some concessions, and this is the big one. They tell the judge by June 13th, the end of this week, the Wayfarer parties will identify the reporters and news or media outlets with whom they have communicated concerning Miss Lively, Miss Reynolds, the CRD complaint, the actions, or the Lively Reynolds companies. But they're still asking the judge to intervene and help them figure out the rest of the subpoena shenanigans. They want a lot of information from a lot of people. And finally, echoing a similar filing that I shared with you all yesterday, she submitted the same, almost verbatim, exactly what was said yesterday is being repeated today. Ryan Reynolds' attorney is pleading to the judge as to why the Wayfarer parties should be sanctioned. the Rule 11 sanctions. Watch my video yesterday about her filing, literally almost the same exact filing. And I feel more like myself today. And wow, a lot of juicy developments here. I'm glad I shared them all with you. Let's discuss everything we've learned in the comments section.
Please tell me y'all clocked how the judge was reading Justin for filth and legalese in that dismissal write-up thing. Please tell me y'all saw it. Well, if you didn't, let me help you. The entire time that this whole case has been going on, I have been fucking screaming into my phone, stand the fuck up, Justin! And it sounded to me like Judge Liman was saying the same motherfucking thing. In Justin's lawsuit against Blake, they go over the timeline of events and they talk about how much she attempted to take over the film. The judge was like, the fuck you telling me that for? This sounds like a you problem. Same, Judge, because I've been screaming at him this whole fucking time. Why you let that girl play in your fucking face like that, Justin Baldoni? That doesn't mean that you harmed her in the way that she's claiming, but you let that bitch come in there and play in your face every fucking day. So the judge is like, I don't want to fucking hear it, and I don't blame him for that. Judge was like, homie, you handed her the aux cord, and then all y'all clapped when she hit play. Like, the judge was like, so you're telling me that she came in and demanded this, demanded that, demanded this, and you fucking did it, and now you want to come cry in my courtroom about it? No. Because, baby, when I tell you the way I would have kicked that bitch off my set, bye, I will recast you. But when you don't have a contract signed because you want to play nicey nice, she now fuckity fucked you. I'm so sorry. I hate this for him, but let this be a fucking lesson. Don't ever let people continue to mistake your kindness for fucking weakness, Justin. And in this case, she didn't mistake it. You acted weak, you played weak, and now she's playing you. I hate this for you. Now, we did get a statement from the Bryan Freedman today, basically telling Blake, bitch, I'll see you in deposition. Also, Judge Liman, if this was your grounds for dismissal, which was that anything that was in this man's defamation lawsuit was never going to hold up in court because her words are protected because she put them inside of the CRD complaint, why the fuck didn't you say so from the fucking beginning? Huh? Why are we out here wasting printer ink, paper, time, energy, money when none of this was going to work any fucking way? Yeah. And baby, another thing, am I the only one that finds it a little convenient that as soon as Bryan Freedman potentially has proof that there were extortion attempts from Blake's side against Taylor Swift, that now the judge magically wants to honor that request to dismiss from March? Just saying. It's looking a little sus around here, Judge. We're on ya. Now, if you want me to keep going about this, I will, because trust me, I have nobody to talk to about this, and I have been on this case from day one. So let me know in the comments if you want me to keep going. Oh, and one more thing before I go. Hey, Betty Boos. Yeah, we see you over there on Instagram running your victory laps and everything, but I want to give you one small reminder. Do not call Taylor Swift's fucking phone. You hear me? Because, baby, y'all are never, ever, ever getting back together. Ever. So have the day that you deserve, man, which honestly is a really, really bad fucking day. Okay, bye! I
told myself that I was not going to be posting about Blake Lively on here anymore because she does not deserve the airtime when there are far more important things for us to be discussing right now, like the ICE raids in LA. But I feel very compelled to set the record straight because whoever is painting the latest updates in the Justin Baldoni case to be like this huge win for Blake Lively and her team is misguided. That's just not the truth. Pursuant to a motion to dismiss, a judge dismissed some of Baldoni's claims. He didn't outright dismiss everything with prejudice, which is what would have tanked Justin Baldoni's battleship. The judge didn't do that. The judge just narrowed the issues, which happens all the time. So let's keep that in mind that any celebrations for Blake Lively's side are completely premature. The judge specifically stated that Baldoni can amend his complaint for breach of implied covenant and tortious interference with a contract. The judge only dismissed the defamation-related claims, which I don't know how I feel about that, but that's for another video. But ultimately, the court invited Baldoni's counsel to amend, and they're definitely going to do that. Justin Baldoni's attorney specifically said that they're going to proceed on those claims, and they will be circling back with more evidence and a more refined case. Let's see how they amend their complaint. But the show is not even remotely over, not even close. Any celebrations are premature and frankly misguided.